Good morning, everyone. This is Curtis Hawks over at Insurance Agency Marketing Services. I want to take a moment here and thank everybody for taking the time to be on the call today. We've got some really exciting stuff that we're going to be talking about. Obviously, taxes are one of the four key challenges that retirees face today. And when we look forward here, we can see that not only is it going to continue to impact retirees, but we also know that we're going to have even choppier waters as we go forward. And so today we're going to take a deep dive into the impact of that. We're going to talk about how do we provide solutions to those individuals, and then how do we market it? How do we get the narrative out there? How do we get this information out to consumers and get them to engage with us? So before we get into that, I want to take a couple of minutes here. I know we've got a lot of reps on the call today, so I wanted to talk a little bit about IMES and some of the services that we provide. The first thing I wanted to discuss was our new producer builders. This is a great way to get in with us and kick our tires, start doing some production, and have us partner with you in a variety of different ways. And you can see a number of examples up there, but essentially if you're a new producer to IMES, as you get going, you can qualify for different tiers of services, whether it's cash or marketing reimbursement or advertising and marketing packages. It's a great way to get your name out there and get in front of more people. Next, we have our business builders and our refer producer program, and this is probably one of the areas where some of the biggest checks we write come from. But if you're working with us and you like the service and you want to share our name out there, any producer that you refer over to us, not only will you get a check, but as they produce business on an ongoing basis, you'll continue to get checks off of their business. You don't have to do anything. We'll take care of all the work. We'll provide all the service, but it's a great way to generate some additional revenue. In addition to that, we also have our marketing reimbursement program as well for both life and annuity. And so this is a great way to double the size of your marketing budget. So as you're producing business with us, we'll invest back into your business to help create even more success for you. In addition to that, back office support. And, honestly, with what's going on with COVID, now more than ever, having a really good team of people working for you and moving your cases along is absolutely critical. We've seen as the carriers have had people working remote, across the board, what you've seen is carriers slowing down and the water's getting even choppier. And so having a dedicated team of people here to assist you and make sure that they're hammering calls and talking to the case managers up there and getting everything pushed through is critically important. And the nice thing about it is with the IMES team over here, you get to put us on your staff, not your payroll. Firelight, I want to make a point of that. Again, we're in a digital world more so than we were last year. And so we do have Firelight integrated on the IMES website. And so this is a great way if you're wanting to do e-applications. It integrates with all the top carriers. You can see that here. We've also got a number of carriers that we're going to be bringing on board here over the next few months. So if you've got questions about that, make sure to give us a call. We also have a promotion going on right now where you can get an additional cash bonus on e-apps that you're submitting through Firelight. In addition to that, the IMES website as a whole, we've got iPipeline on there if you're wanting to do e-applications for life insurance, but you can run life quotes, annuity quotes. You can get access to all of the product rates, grids, etc. And then we've also got a great sales resource library. I would encourage you, if you haven't had a chance to take a look at that yet, absolutely you need to. I mean, when you talk about point of sale pieces and basically any concept or idea that you would want to talk about, we've got a marketing piece on there that's unbranded that can be customized to your business. And so it's a great resource. In addition to that, marketing is different this year. A lot of advisors were doing broad-based marketing pre-COVID, and as many of you have seen, as we're several months into this whole thing, the marketing landscape has changed, and so the need to do different types of marketing and advertising campaigns and to get your name out there is absolutely critical. And so one thing I would encourage everyone on the call today, one thing that we'll do is what's called a custom marketing analysis. And essentially what we do is we get a time set with you. It takes about 20, 30 minutes, and we'll go through and do a marketing needs analysis with you. And then we'll have the marketing team go through all of that and then come back with a custom marketing plan for you. I can't tell you how much that can help to get some clarity into where you're at, where you want to go, how you're currently marketing, and then how do we bridge that gap. And that's essentially what you get out of that whole process. So I would encourage you, if you haven't done that yet, take advantage of it, because that's the thing, is it's not enough to say I want to get here. There's got to be some type of plan in place, and that's what we can develop for you. In addition to that, we're going to be talking about software today and the role that plays in planning. And one of the things that I would mention to you as well is for advisors that are licensed and doing business with IAMS, we've got our Retirement Analyzer platform. It's a great software solution that is oriented around income in retirement and showing the client with what they've saved, do they have enough saved for retirement? And in a very simple and easy way, it articulates whether they're going to run out of money or whether they're not. And if they are, how do we address that issue and provide a solution for them? IAMS Wealth Management, we do have an RIA platform. Right now is a great time. If you're not happy where you're currently at, or you've been thinking about getting your 65, this is a great time right now to look at doing that. Charles Jr. and the team over there do an amazing job. So if you've got any questions about that, certainly feel free to reach out to us and have a conversation with us. So today I've got Tyler Randall on the call with us. He's the National Sales Director for Stonewood Financial. And last week we talked about Life Insurance Awareness Month, which, by the way, if you haven't got if you weren't able to sit in on that call, call your sales director. They'll get the marketing package out to you. It's got over 40 different pieces, whether you want to market on social media, email, direct mail. It's got point of sale pieces. I mean, just anything and everything. When you're talking about marketing life insurance, it's got a ton of resources and tools in there. But one of the things that we talked about in that call was legislative changes. And when you look at the current climate right now, there's a lot of headwind. We talk about and have the conversation, do you pay tax on the seed or the harvest? And right now we're paying taxes on the TCJA, the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act. Well, we know that rule is set to sunset in the next 5 years. We also had the Secure Act that went into effect at the beginning of this year, which has a dramatic impact on saving in qualified accounts, as well as the distribution of funds in qualified accounts. We also have the CARES Act that passed earlier this year. Right now, as we all see in the news, there's a significant amount of legislation being discussed about a second round of that. And I don't think at this point in time that it's a question of, are they going to get something out there? It's a matter of how much. And so we're set here in an environment where we're going to take on more debt this year than we've ever done before in the history of the country. And so knowing that and looking forward, one can say we're probably going to have an increased tax rate environment in the future. The government's going to have to do some increases in tax revenue. And so when you talk about challenges in retirement, healthcare and taxes are the two biggest expenses that people face in retirement. And they're also facing those when they're at their most vulnerable. And so we talk a lot about vertical diversification in our planning, which is safe money versus at-risk money, which is an important conversation. I think going forward, an equally important conversation is going to be horizontal diversification, which is diversifying between tax treatments. Should we have all of our retirement savings in qualified accounts? What are the different tax buckets that we can save in, and what is the optimal blend of those? And so today, Tyler's going to take us on a deep dive of that, what the opportunity is, how do we provide solutions, as well as how do we market this idea as well. So Tyler, with that, I'll go ahead and switch this over to you, and I really appreciate you being on the call with us today.
Yeah, thank you, Curtis. Appreciate it. And thank you, everyone that's on the call. I know that your time is important, and we appreciate you spending some time with us today. I hope that you'll find it time well spent while we cover some of the topics here that Curtis mentioned. How do we most help our clients and prospects in the next coming years and drive new revenue to our business? And the great thing is we maybe never positioned better to do both those things through some very simple planning. And I think what we'll take you through in the next 20, 30 minutes here is an introduction to how to do that, how people have successfully been doing that over the last couple of years, and give you some simple tools and resources that I think you can plug in and utilize right away. So let me just give you a little background on Stonewood, who we are and what we do. Our company is partnered now with IMES, and we are simply here to help agents and advisors increase their IUL sales and revenue. And we do that through keeping the marketing simple so that the general public can understand the value and the power of IUL in their portfolio. And then we also give a very easy track to introduce and present IUL in some simplified reporting. So instead of having 50 pages of carrier illustration where nobody knows what the heck they're looking at, and a yellow pad or a whiteboard to present from, we give a very simplified, compliant report that's easy to understand, and the numbers are very powerful and speak for themselves. And so I'm going to share with you some of the marketing that we use that has helped engage the general public on this powerful tax reduction strategy via the IUL. And I'm going to share with you some of the reporting that we use to present. And literally, the marketing and reporting has helped people go from no IUL sales to hundreds of thousands and even millions of dollars of target premium over the last year or two. And I'm just going to share with you what's working. And I think that if you have been wanting to introduce IUL into your business, but maybe needed a track to run on, this presentation is going to be for you. If you're doing IUL right now and you want to do more, we're going to give you some simple marketing and reporting that help you do that too. And so we have two basic marketing programs at Stonewood. And so the first one I'm going to introduce you to is called the New Rules of Retirement Savings. And this is really designed to engage the young saver, doctor, lawyer, business owner, 20 to 50-year-old that has additional non-qualified money that they are looking to save in the IUL as a 401k alternative. So this is really just bread and butter, using the IUL as a savings vehicle. Kind of the old rules would tell us, save in a tax deferred vehicle, defer the taxes into this unknown tax environment. And the new rules would say, no, don't do that. Save in a tax-free vehicle, because we don't know what the rules are going to be from a distribution standpoint. We don't know what the tax rates are going to be in the future. We're better off in the tax-free vehicle. And so this book is maybe 100 pages. It comes with a webinar and some other resources that I'll tell you about in a minute. But what we found is if somebody will read the book, it's very much going to shorten your sales cycle in presenting this. They're going to come to you with buying questions and implementation questions rather than show me the value. They're going to understand the value to this strategy. And this, by the way, is a marketing strategy that IMES will pick up the cost for. Talk to your life sales director. They'll be able to connect you up with this type of marketing and the other resources I'll share with you in a second. We have what's called a premium membership, and this is something that you can license at a deep discount, this type of marketing and planning through IMES, through a negotiated rate exclusive with IMES. But this is designed to engage a different type of demographic. This is for your 59.5 to 75-year-old that already has saved in an IRA or some sort of qualified account. And with this strategy, we're sharing with them the tax benefits, how we can help most clients save hundreds of thousands, and in some cases, millions of dollars by taking money out of the IRA now, paying the taxes over the next several years while taxes are a known quantity and historically very low, and getting it into a tax-free vehicle so that we can tax diversify an account. And you can see, hopefully you can see the bottom there, Martin Ruby, that's our CEO at Stonewood. He's an actuary, FSA, that's his designation. He ran a few life insurance companies. And this book is a very easy read. he talks and basically tells his story, how he sharpened his numbers as an actuary, sharpened his pencils and crunched the numbers as an actuary, and found out that his current 401k was not terribly tax efficient. And he talks about why he converted about $500,000 of his own money from his 401k into an IUL, the tax benefits he intends to receive, the tax reductions he intends to receive, the risk reductions. And so it's a very, very easy read. And oftentimes we find people finding this book on Amazon and different sources. They're calling us up and saying, hey, can you recommend an advisor? Because I want to put this strategy into place. And so the book in and of itself is very powerful. If you want to market with it as an ebook or a hard copy, you certainly can. And we found people that the only change that they utilized in a marketing standpoint in their business last year was that they gave these books out to clients and prospects. And we've had many people go from no IUL business to several 100,000 target just marketing with the books, sending these books out and asking clients or prospects to read them and to invest an hour. That's all it will take to read this book, and then schedule some time to speak with you on the topic that are discussed. And so, and there's a lot of what I would call sell IUL books out there. They do a great job, but a lot of times they leave you hanging. Now, what do you do? Now, what do I present? Do I present this carrier, 50-page carrier report, and which pages do I present, and how do I get through underwriting, all that? Sometimes it gets cumbersome. And so what I'm going to share with you here, I'm going to close up the marketing side of it, but I'm going to share with you the track you can run on very simply, the reports that are available through our software. So when you have interest through the books, now you can sit down with a client and share with them a custom report and tax analysis and income analysis and risk reduction analysis. So it's the value for the strategy is very apparent to clients and prospects. But both books, just so you know, have PowerPoints available with them we've been certainly doing webinars. People have transitioned to web-based presentations where we used to do dinner seminars and workshops. These PowerPoints are now being delivered on a webinar basis, and they're updated to the current situation. As Curtis mentioned, the COVID environment, how it's going to impact taxes. Our PowerPoint not only takes the books and put it in PowerPoint form, but the front part of that talks about the impact and the potential tax increases coming because, and in light of the COVID situation and the stimulus packages that have been passed. Both books can be customized. So if somebody wants to customize the book, if you read it, you say, hey, this would be cool to be able to put my picture and bio and contact information on the back. So when a client or prospect gets done reading it, they can call me up and schedule a meeting. That's terrific. It's a program that's available, and you can write the forward. So you've got your name on the front and you've got your contact information on the back. And that's a program that is available through Stonewood. Lots of radio scripts and TV and podcast content on our site and part of our marketing catalog that's available to you as well. So if you're doing any of that or pushing out any of that type of marketing through social media, we have content available to you on our site. There's lots of client brochures, white papers on these topics that you can customize to your business and to send out, email out, or distribute out. You can print them, of course. And then once you have interest, whether it's through the books or the one-pagers or webinar, whatever the format is that you've engaged a client or prospect, now you can get on our software and do some custom tax analysis and income analysis and cost analysis, which I'll share with you some of the output. But just know that there is a tremendous amount of resources available to you to plug into this tax reduction strategy, and IUL just happens to be one option on the solution on how we get there. We do a comprehensive training on this, and I'm going to mention more about a master's training we have coming up here in September. But as a Stonewood member, if you're looking to utilize this, we provide a lot of training around how to incorporate these resources into your business. And it's certainly something that your life sales director will know about and have access to as well. So let's jump into a couple case studies, and I'll share with you some of the output. And this type of client, John, he would fall into that new rules of retirement savings marketing. So this is a young professional, has a little bit of money in a 401k, and is just contemplating, should he continue to go ahead and continue to fund this 401k, or is there a better option? Or maybe should I redivert some of these proceeds to a different option? And so we're going to encourage him to tax diversify this. And the message is pretty clear. If we keep deferring taxes into this unknown tax environment, do you feel like taxes are going to be in a flat or declining in the next 20 or 30 years? Or do you think that taxes are going to be higher? Well, most people feel like taxes are probably going to be higher for a number of the reasons that Curtis mentioned earlier. And we think that tax diversification and funding something that's tax-free makes a lot of sense. And so how do we have that conversation? How do we start that conversation with clients? Well, we create a very simple report that just shows the benefit of funding the 401k for John. So if John continues to fund the 401k from age 42 to 65, his benefit is that he will defer $83,000 in taxes. These are taxes he would normally pay if he wasn't in a deferred account. We're going to kick that tax can down the road. We'll pay it later. What we'll pay is a little bit unknown, but we can clarify it for John because a lot of people don't have any idea what this will look like. When John starts to get to the spend down period of retirement, and we have from 65 throughout his lifetime, he will not only pay taxes on the $83,000, but he'll pay over $300,000 in taxes and the spend down period from this qualified account. And so a very simple report that we produce, and this is just one page of about an 8-page tax analysis, but it's the page we present to clients to say, doesn't it make sense, John, for us to try to fund a vehicle where we pay a little bit of taxes each year and fund something tax-free, like a tax-free IUL, so that we can avoid that $300,000 tax bill altogether? And most clients, when they see these numbers, they say, of course, it makes sense. And so we create this tax impact report. This is something that IMS can give you access to if you talk to your life sales director, not only the books and the webinars that promote the value of this strategy, but the ability to get on a software and produce a very simplified tax analysis so that you can put the numbers right in front of a client or prospect and they get it. And now what we've done is if we can do this with all of our savers, we're now creating a very nice pipeline of IUL business. And when we see the numbers, a lot of people say, hey, this makes sense. And we'll talk about the reasons why we like IUL versus other tax-free vehicles in a minute. But just know this report's available to you, and IMS can make it available to you. Just contact your life sales director. The other type of planning is through that no compromise retirement plan. And this is really for the 60-year-old plus that already has saved money in the IRA. And our conversation is a little bit different. This is a little bit more of a transactional sale. So his client's already got money in an IRA, and now we're going to share with them, can we reduce Jim's taxable situation, hundreds of thousands of dollars, maybe more over his retirement years by taking some money out of the IRA, paying the taxes now, well, we know what taxes are, and funding a tax-free vehicle. Can that be a benefit to Jim? And so this type of planning can be accessed, and the marketing for it can be accessed at a very discounted cost through Stonewood. But let me share with you some of the output that we would present to a client or prospect like Jim. So he's got $1.5 million in an IRA, and we're just going to suggest he takes a portion of it out over the next 5 years and pays the taxes and funds an IUL. And so to find out if this is going to be a benefit for Jim, there's a couple of assumptions we have to make. And one is going to be a return assumption on his qualified account. In other words, what's the performance going to look like? And so there's a calculator on our site, and this is kind of a rough screenshot of it that just allows you to be able to customize the client's stock to bond mix and the return numbers you want to represent. What we did for Jim is we did a 50-50 portfolio with a 4.25 blended rate of return. The other assumption we have to make is what kind of taxes are we going to face over retirement? And so we just use an effective rate in our software, combining local, state, and federal. And we're going to use a 25% effective rate. And so in the software, you could use a flat projection of taxes and just keep 25% throughout the next 30 years for this client. Or you could use a rising tax rate, which we think is a little bit more realistic. So what we're going to do is in year 7, because we don't know what taxes are going to do in the future, but we do know that in 2025, the current tax code sunset, and it's going to mean an increase of at least 2% for most Americans, and probably more if you buy into what a lot of the experts feel is going to happen with taxes moving forward to pay down the debt that Curtis referenced earlier. And so we're going to show a slightly higher tax environment from year 7 on, 32.5% for Curtis. And most Americans, when they pass their qualified accounts on to their beneficiaries inherit them in their prime earning years, and which means that they're probably going to be bumped into a little higher rate, especially if they take it as a lump sum. But even if they take it as a 10, for a 10-year period, it probably is going to bump them into a little higher rate. And so we're going to show in 30 years that the beneficiaries inheriting this IRA are going to be in the 35% rate. And so you could be more conservative or more aggressive on the taxes, completely up to you. The calculator, obviously, you can plug in the numbers that you want to represent and that you feel comfortable and confident and having conviction around. So we use what we consider as a pretty conservative tax environment here, or forecast of taxes anyway. So Jim's got $1 million in AUM, $500,000 in annuity. Again, we just think it's a tremendous amount of risk to defer all the growth of this money into this future higher tax environment, or defer into a rules environment where the rules can change. Through the Secure Act, we just saw that Congress can change the rules on how these IRAs are distributed. They went from a pay over your lifetime to a 10-year pay. And anybody who's paying attention knows that's just a huge money grab. They said, how do we get more tax dollars without raising taxes? Well, here we go. And there's nothing to say that the rules on this won't change to a 5-pay or a lump sum pay in the future. And there's not a whole heck of a lot we can do about it. So we encourage most people, especially people like Jim here that have already saved, to tax diversify their accounts. Instead of deferring all this money, let's pay the taxes right now while we know what they are over the next 5 years. And so what we're going to identify is $500,000, and we're going to pull out $100,000 a year for the next 5 years. And when we pull that $100,000 out of his IRA, we're going to withhold 25% and send that to the IRS. That's the debt to the IRS. There's no way to get around it. We're just going to pay it now, and instead of paying it later. And another kind of nugget we use when we talk about this is, you have a partner in this $500,000, $1.5 million, Jim, and that partner is the IRS. They're a 25% partner in all of your qualified money right now. They may decide to be a 50% or 60% partner in your money in the future, and there's not a whole lot you can do about it. So why not buy the IRS out of this partnership now while we know what taxes are, and we know that partnership is 25%. So we're going to do that with this $500,000 in tax diversify. And here's the simplified report that we present to Jim. So we've made a couple assumptions on taxes and returns, and we've identified $500,000 as how much we want to tax diversify. And that's obviously completely up to you and the client and what's appropriate. But we go down 2 paths. Jim, if you keep your IRA, here's what your tax bill is going to look like. And we run the numbers for him. If he keeps his IRA just from RMDs alone, from 72 to 90, we have Jim passing at 90, he's going to pay $210,000 in taxes just from his RMDs on this $500,000 that we're analyzing. And that number by itself may be surprising for Jim, because he's like, wow, that's a big number. That's almost half the value of the account. And that's realistic. That's exactly what it's going to pay. And that's if taxes don't move up higher than what we projected. If they do, obviously that number grows. If he spends his RMDs as he takes them out on groceries and gasoline and things that we spend money on in retirement, he won't have this next line item, which is taxes paid on reinvested RMDs. But as you know, and I'm sure you have a lot of clients and prospects like this that take their RMD out and say, well, I really don't need this. I'm going to plug it back into a non-qualified interest-bearing bond or CD or something that creates taxes. If he does that, if he reinvests his RMDs, the IRS will take a tax from the dividend that it produces. And if he does it from age 72 to 90, that tax will be about $65,000 that we have to account for. And then the taxes paid on remaining account value at death, this is what the beneficiaries would pay. on the remaining value of the account. And again, we have them at the 35%. If they're at the 40 or 50%, this number gets bigger and bigger. But the value taxed would be about $143,000. So total tax bill on $500,000 for Jim. If he keeps his IRA, keeps doing what he's doing, status quo, he's going to pay about $420,000 in taxes on $500,000 account. That's a big number, and a lot of people get surprised by this, and we run these all the time. The numbers get bigger and bigger, especially if you're in a higher bracket, and more surprising, but it's a real eye-opener to folks, and we kind of couch these as your optional taxes. These are your optional taxes, and nobody, of course, is getting in line to pay any optional taxes. They want to pay the minimum tax. So how do we help Jim pay the minimum? Well, we can minimize his taxes by converting to a tax-free Roth or IUL. And in our reporting, we have to use Roth as a side-by-side because it's not compliant on a one-page report to compare an IRA to a IUL. If we do that, now our report becomes a 50-page report instead of a 4 or 5-page report. So we use Roth, and then we're very quick to say, Roth is one tax-free option. It's not our preferred tax-free option, but it's a tax-free option. We like IUL for the living benefits and the death benefits and the market protections we get. But if we just look at this from a tax standpoint, if we do a conversion like we suggested over the next 5 years, we can minimize the taxes from $419,000 all the way down to $125,000. If we put it into a tax-free, we convert to a tax-free, then the taxes paid on the account growth is nothing. And at death, we pay nothing. So the total is $125,000. So this is, again, one page. It's a talking page that we use to present to clients and prospects over the age of 60, and there's certainly more detailed pages than this, but this page right here is the page we put in front of, and we think should be in front of every client or prospect over the age of 60 with qualified money, just to say, here's your tax bill if you keep doing what you're doing, Jim. On $500,000, you can potentially pay about $420,000 in taxes. Now we can minimize that down to $125,000 through a simple conversion strategy where we fund a tax-free vehicle like a tax-free IUL, in which case we're going to save Jim almost $300,000 in taxes. And the numbers really speak for themselves. In this report, by and large, we get the most feedback from our agents and advisors that say, this is the one that helps more clients and helps me make more money and gets more IUL business teed up and more in our pipeline than anything else that's produced, because the numbers are very strong. They speak for themselves. And in this case, Jim can see that, keeping 300 grand, the difference between these two, keeping that money in his family, in his pocket, rather than sending it to the IRS, is something that you are helping him with. And this is a real differentiator. A lot of folks are not presenting this to their clients and prospects. And when they do, you've got their attention and you're showing something meaningful. Keep in mind, we haven't even really talked about IUL. It just happens to be a solution. What we're talking about first and foremost is tax reduction. How do we reduce your taxes for you, Jim, over your retirement years? Well, here's a report that shows you I can reduce your overall taxes almost $300,000. Now we have some attention from Jim, and we're presenting a big value to him. The next type of report you can run off our software, and this is both for your new rules of retirement planning and for your no compromise retirement plan strategy, is can we create additional income through a tax-free source as it compares to a IRA or 401k. So we have two separate reports we run. One is a qualified account report that just shows the potential income created from a systematic withdrawal out of an IRA. And then we compare that to an IUL and what the income would look like from the IUL. Again, this is two separate reports. What I'm sharing with you is kind of the page on these reports that you could lay side by side to do some comparison, but they are two separate reports because, again, from a compliance standpoint, they have to be run separately. But there's nothing to say we can't take the two summary pages here and put them side by side and compare and contrast them. That's perfectly fine. So on $500,000, we have it growing from age 60 to 70 to $617,000. We use the same growth assumptions we did in the other example, 4.25% growth rate. The tax rate stayed the same. Now, what we asked our software is, what's the max I could pull out as a systematic withdrawal starting at age 70 from $617,000 so that my money would last till age 100. In other words, we're doing a max withdrawal strategy that would last a lifetime. And so for Jim here, the maximum he could pull is about $33,000 a year from his $617,000. Of course, once we take that money out, we have to pay taxes on it. So his net is $22,000, and total distribution is about $670,000, almost $700,000 from age 70 to 100. So hopefully we've given this client or prospect a very good snapshot of, if you keep doing what you're doing, here's about what you could expect from an income standpoint. On the right-hand side, we just ran an IUL illustration using the after-tax premium of $375, because remember, $125,000 went to pay off the debt to the IRS to buy them out of that partnership or that percentage of ownership in our money. And you can run through our software any carrier that you want to run. We are carrier agnostic, so you run the ones that you feel comfortable with, or that your life sales director can help you with. Let that 375, we let it grow from age 60 to 70. It grew to about 466,000. And then the income, according to the illustration, is about 35,000. So what we did is we just ran a kind of a max withdrawal strategy from the qualified account on the left, and we did a max credit rate and income strategy from the IUL, so we could kind of compare what both could potentially look like income-wise. Total distributions from the IUL, including the death benefit at the end, because this gentleman is going to still have $250,000 or so of death benefit. And that kicker, even if the numbers are closer, when the death benefit kicks in, you're seeing distribution rates go way up. Total distributions go much higher from the IUL. And typically, especially if we get into a significantly higher tax environment, if Jim here goes from a 25 to a 40 or 50% tax environment, it's going to hammer that qualified account. So it really helps us to be able to say, hey, one of the reasons we showed you is overall tax reduction to your portfolio that we just talked about. But the other reason we want to tax diversify, and you can see the IUL income, is all coming out tax-free. So if tax rates move up, we have a little more predictable income coming from the IUL. And so here's a side-by-side, and you can run the numbers again, software-wise, return numbers, tax rate numbers, any way you want, any way you feel comfortable with. But it's typically that the IUL was going to show very nicely because of the tax-free nature of the withdrawal. And we hear a lot, well, why wouldn't I just take more money out of the IRA to match the IUL income and keep doing what I'm doing? And you could do that. You could pull about $52,000 a year out of the qualified account as a systematic withdrawal to net the 35 that the IUL gives you. But as you guys probably already realize, you just can't do it for very long. You can only do it for about 15, 16 years, and then you're out of money. And the total distribution is almost $1 million less if we do that. So this really reinforces that the power of that tax-free withdrawal. And this is just one page, again, of about a 5-page report on the income analysis. Each report there you can use in side by side. But if we do anything well, I mentioned in the beginning of this call, is we try to simplify the IUL, which can be a very complex sale. We try to simplify the reporting so it's very easy for you to present to a client or prospect. And you can see on the right where it says IUL illustrated values. It's one page. It's very easy for a client to say, okay, here's your total premium we're going to put in. Here's the value at retirement age. Here's the income that it'll potentially produce in the total distributions. And the small print at the bottom is the carrier compliance, so that you know you can present this as a compliant supplemental to a full illustration. So instead of having 50 pages of carrier illustration to fumble through, not maybe knowing which pages to present or getting lost, you got one page that makes it very clear and concise, and the numbers speak for themselves. And so these reports are available to you through the Stonewood software, so you can make presentations easier and more effective. And what we found is it's just helping advisors and agents close a lot more business. Anytime we make it simple for the general public to understand and for us to present in this business, we close more business. And that's certainly been the case with the Stonewood reports. So what have we done? We've shown them a $294,000 tax reduction just by utilizing the conversion. When we compare the income, the two plans, systematic withdrawal versus the IUL, we created almost $600,000 of additional total distributions over his lifetime. And the last thing we talk about after taxes and income is risk. Can we reduce risk for you using the IUL? And of course, we all know that the answer is yes. And these are just the power of indexing. Over the last 20 years, if you asked a client or prospect, which line would you prefer to invest it on to get to that 6% average return, nobody's picking the bottom line. Nobody wants all the volatility. They want some protections and some guarantees, and that's what we want too. And that's why the IUL, one of the reasons why we like the IUL much better than just an unprotected Roth account is that we have some protections against the market. And of course, the market has rebounded nicely since March of this year, but just take a look at what happened in the first 2 weeks of March. The S&P 500, the unprotected account that was averaging over 6%, dropped to under 4.5 in 2 weeks. That drop caused a lot of people to rethink their strategies, caused a lot of people to bail, caused a lot of people to sit on the sideline. Look what happened to the IUL investor over that 2 week period. Nothing, right? That protection, that floor, that's in place. That's why we like the IUL, and that's why we want to have not only a tax diversification and income diversification, but some risk reduction for a portion of the portfolio. And these charts like this are very powerful when you show them to clients, especially in light of the current market volatility that is not going away. If we look at the last 20 years, there's always going to be market volatility. It's not going anywhere, and let's get a portion of money that's protected against some of that risk that's out there in the market. Most people will always ask about, well, what's the worst case scenario? Well, here it is. Most people during this period, with an unprotected account, made no money. In fact, they lost money. A lot of people lost money over a 10-year period. The IUL investor over the same period of time did very well. Their 100 grand became 140, 150 grand. So we have lots of iterations of these charts with different cap rates depending on the products that you're wanting to represent, but they all tell the same story: risk reduction, protection against market downturns, and participation on the upside. So just know these charts are available to you, whether you're using the Saver New Rules of Retirement Planning and software, or if you want to utilize that conversion software, the story on risk reduction is the same. So we always get, hey, that sounds good. We just showed a tremendous hundreds of thousands of dollars of tax reduction. We showed additional income from a tax-free source. We showed risk reduction. And people will still say, that sounds good, but. And we always hear that but, and here comes the objection. And most of the time it's around cost. And if we ask, if we're good salespeople, we'll say, well, if someone says, well, isn't insurance expensive? I've been told not to do insurance because it's expensive. We always should say compared to what? And people will answer typically in a percentage form. They'll say, well, my mutual fund is 1%, or my 401k is 1.5% or 2%, or whatever the answer is. It's typically a percentage form. And so we have some cost analysis software where you can plug in whatever carrier you're wanting to use into our software, and we just convert the cost of the insurance to a percentage form. So now we can have a conversation around cost. And in most cases, the IUL is very reasonable for everything that we get. So for Jim here, the illustration I showed you on that $35,000 of income on $500,000 or $375,000, his cost of insurance is about 1.3%. So now we have a one-page compliant report so that when cost comes up, and we say compared to what, we have this in our back pocket, and most of the time these costs are very reasonable and stack up very well against just about whatever you want to compare it to. So just know that these cost analysis reports are available to you, and now instead of having to go through the first 15 years of the contract, say, oh, these dollars coming out are heavier and it's front loaded and the back end is cheaper, and you try to explain that to somebody and they think you're trying to pull one over on them, say, here's your average cost, Mr. and Mrs. Client. It's very reasonable, stacks up very nicely against whatever you want to compare it to. So just kind of summarize what we've talked about so far. I've shared with you some of our marketing through the books and the webinars, client one-pagers, lots of content on podcast, radio, TV. All that is available to you that tells a very simple tax reduction, tax diversification, risk reduction story through all those. And all those marketing tools push people to know their numbers, know your tax numbers. You need to find out, contact your advisor. That's what they push through all those marketing resources. And so when someone comes to you, they say, can you help me get to my tax information? And you can say yes. And you get on our Stonewood reports, you work with, we do train on how to run these reports yourself, or you can talk to your life sales director and have them work with you to run these. But these reports now help you get a very easy path and presentation path so you can present to clients and start filling that pipeline of IUL business. So just kind of talk about, there's again, the new rules of retirement savings, which is for your young savers, is available to you. Contact your life director, and IMS picks up the tab for that. That's a value add and a huge one. There's a lot of that business that can be done. You can access the conversion, IRA to IUL conversion, through Stonewood at a very discounted rate. And let me just kind of take you through what you get if you decide to license that marketing and software through us. You're going to pick up not only the new rules for retirement software, but the no compromise retirement plan marketing and software. We take you through and give you access to the IUL Masters training. We have one coming up September 9th through the 11th, and this is complimentary to our premium members that decide to license our software. You can, if you want to attend it, you can attend it. Typically it's $5.99. We've discounted a rate through IMS that is $3.49 if you want to talk to them about attending that. And what it is, it's a 3-day, we take an hour and a half over lunch Eastern time to go through all these resources, a deep dive sales positioning and marketing of these resources in your practice, how people have gone and done millions and millions in target premium from the resources that you've just been introduced to. We take you through the nuts and bolts of IUL. We try to get you, make sure you're completely comfortable with all these resources and give you the best practices so you come out that 3-day period able to start filling a pipeline and making these presentations and differentiating your business utilizing these tax reduction strategies. So that master's training is available to you. Again, it's complimentary if you're a premium member with Stonewood. Also, if you're a premium member of Stonewood, we take you on a 5-step onboarding process from day one, how to customize the marketing material. If you want to look at customizing the books or utilizing the webinars, we take you through that, and we assign you a Stonewood coach that has their calendar available to you at any point. Should you need support from us, you can get on the calendar, and we're here to help. All of our webinars and client appreciation events are available online. So we have a number of these, a couple that are corresponding with the books, but also other ones that you could tap into and utilize if you wish. And if you want, again, customize the book, there's a program to do that. Put your picture and bio on the back and write the foreword. So this is what you pick up, again, at a very deeply discounted cost through IMS. Here's what we hope to do. If you're new to IUL or you haven't written a lot of IUL, what we want to do is help you find a guy like Jim. He does 5-pay, $75,000 a year. Revenue is about $40,000 on a case like this. And so if we find one of these, it's a really nice ROI on your investment. If we can find one a month, if we fill this pipeline, so we're closing one of these a month, now we've got $300,000 or $400,000 of new revenue coming from this type of planning. And what we found is if this is a prospect, if Jim is a prospect and you're differentiating your business by showing this tax reduction strategy, not only do you pick up the life business, but you pick up the annuity. And if you're 65 and you can do the AUM, you got a really nice client. And it doesn't take a lot of these to really be meaningful to your business. So we try to get a pipeline of this, try to identify within your current book of business, those 60 and older that could be conversion candidates, prospects the same way, and try to plug in and give you a marketing program to go after this. So just kind of recap. We're bumping up on time, and I want to kick it back over to Curtis to close it down. But just a basic access, the new rules of retirement savings, the webinars, client handouts of books, the software for those planners or those saver type of clients, are all available to you. And we do a digital training for this type of, it's online that you can tap into. You do have access to our master's training at a discounted cost through IAMS. If you wish to do the conversion strategy, which is our premium membership on our no compromise retirement plan, you can access that at a deeply discounted cost, and that gives you the conversion marketing and software to go after those 60-year-old plus with qualified money. You also can attend our master's training coming up September 9th through the 11th. It's part of your membership, and you get one-on-one coaching with one of our dedicated member service team. So that's really what I wanted to cover here today. I hope that you get a good feel for what resources are available to you and how we can help be of service to you and your business. And I'm just going to kick it back over to Curtis here and let him give some closing comments.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Tyler, and I appreciate taking the time to be on the call with us today. What I would tell everybody on the call today is we think this is a huge opportunity. We know that we're getting ready to enter into an increasing tax rate environment, whether it's through increased tax rates or modifications to the existing code to generate increases in tax revenue. And this is something that is going to go on this isn't going to be a modification for a few years. This is going to be over the course of decades, trying to increase the amount of tax revenue that's coming in. And so the more that we're talking about both vertical and horizontal diversification, the better prepared our clients are going to be, and they're going to be in a position to have options, so that regardless of what happens, because we don't know, we can help them mitigate that risk. So there's a huge opportunity with this software, with this program, and I would encourage all of you to reach out to your sales director. They can chat with you about getting set up with the platform. We can do training, we can run designs, and even if you just want to, if you've got a client in mind and you just want to see, what the outputs look like, give us a call. The sales team here is more than happy to run some numbers for you and show you what that looks like. So our number is 800-255-5055. Give us a call. Sales team will also be circling up with everybody that was on the call as well to chat with them as well. And I really appreciate everybody taking the time to be on the call today. Hope you guys have a great rest of the week. Thank you.